Hi and welcome to the latest episode of Pat's Procrastination with Chudders and Clazzy Clare, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Please do not forget to be rating and subscribing to said YouTube channel. So welcome folks to the prescription for your draft fatigue. It is episode 25. We are here to talk draft, but hopefully relieve any tension that you have whilst you're waiting for that number 3 pick. Chudders, how are things with you?
They're all right, thanks. I think the fatigue is nearly waning now. We're nearly on to draft night. The excitement, what we've been looking for as Pats fans now for far too long, because from quite early in the season, it was fairly obvious that we weren't going to do anything in season, and the highlight of our next 12 months was going to be this draft. So we're nearly there now.
Question: do you think that this draft seems different to us as Patriots fans only because of that third pick, or do you see as what's been going on around like the JJ McCarthy effect, if you like, as something different, or we're just seeing more of it because it's under a microscope for us because we're pick number 3?
So on the JJ McCarthy thing, I think we're noticing that sort of thing more because it's more relevant to us being in the quarterback market. It's the sort of thing that goes on most years. You could argue the last time we were looking for a quarterback, it might have happened with the quarterback we ended up picking, when some people thought he might be a later round quarterback, but we took him at 15. So it's not totally new to us. I think there's been a heightened microscope of what the Patriots are doing about this draft. 1, because we're picking at 3, so it's far more relevant. 2, because we need a quarterback. We're not just picking at 3, but you know, we've already got Brady or an established franchise quarterback, and look at the excitement, offensive weapon. But when you're in the quarterback market, when you're at the top of the draft, you're going to be one of the main players. And thirdly, because we've got new leadership, new coach, semi-new sort of front office as well. Some that are still sticking around, some that have been elevated. But that's all new. So we're very keen to see how the draft process is going to go for the Patriots this year. There's been a lot of, some people criticize, some people like the way that Belichick ran the draft. Certainly, maybe it was better for the first 15 years or so than the last 5. But there's going to be a new process. There's going to be a new person deciding on that pick. It may be even a new, more collaborative method of making that pick. So the whole process is under a lot more scrutiny than normal, I would say. Would you agree?
Completely. And yeah, after the 2018 draft, when after he got Ryan Izzo, it just went all downhill from there completely.
Pretty much. It should be like one of those memes with like the domino effect, and like the biggest domino is like, you know, Belichick and Brady leaving and the whole dynasty getting blown up, and the first tiniest domino is just a little picture of Ryan Izzo getting drafted. Yeah,
I didn't mean it like that, and you know it. You're so mean. You're so cool. So yeah, I mean, sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, so Claire, what will make you happy? Not this time next week. We need to add a couple of days, but let's say just after round 1, what will make Claire happy?
Drake May at number 3 to the Patriots.
It's looking likely as well.
Just to specify that bit.
it's looking likely.
I do, however.
I tell you what might make you even more happy is if they've traded down and it's Drake May at, say, 6, and they've got some further picks. That would make you even happier. Although I suspect at the moment you see the Patriots have traded out, you'll be then smashing anything that's in sight.
Well, no.
If Drake May's on the board.
I'll be silently screaming because it'll be like 12 o'clock at night or something here. So yeah, I'll be being very quiet. I've got to say, although I've been on the Drake May hype train since maybe before Andy Hart, possibly. Although he's way more invested than I seem to be at this point in time. But yeah. And then I heard a podcast last night / this morning from the fabulous Tom Curran and Phil Perry. And they highlighted, if anybody hasn't listened to it, they highlight the positives and the negatives of each of the 4 quarterbacks at the moment, or the 3 quarterbacks at the moment: JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. And when they were saying the negatives of Drake May, it was making me a little bit nervous. I have to admit, I've been a little bit blinkered, but it still comes down to something that I think a few people have said in the media of, he's worth missing on, as in he's worth taking and it not working out, because all of these quarterbacks are better than what we've got. So I mean the top 3 really. So yeah, it's still Drake May at 3. If it comes in that Washington have taken May, I don't know where I'm going to be after that. So don't hit me up on Twitter or anything, because I don't know where I'll be.
You're going to be crying.
Yeah, maybe.
Crying in a puddle of tears.
I tell you what would make me the most happy is I tell you what would just completely blow my mind. Now you've said about how trading down and still getting Drake May. If they manage to pull that off, I don't see it possible at all, folks. So, don't at me at this. But if something happens and they trade down and they still get 2 first-round picks and they take Drake May and Brock Bowers, I will literally lose it. They won't. No, I know you're shaking your head. You asked me what would make me the most happiest. That is the thing that I will just lose my mind if that happened. It's like a 0.00001% chance. So granted. But you asked the question. So I answered the question. You don't like my answer? Isn't that surprising? So Chudders, what would make you...
hang on, no, I want to elaborate on that now. So let's say the Patriots have traded down. They've somehow got May at, let's say, 6, and then let's say they've got a middle to late round pick. Let's say they got pick 20. Somehow they've traded up.
Yeah, he won't drop that far though.
I don't. Yeah, okay, but we're using a fantasy world here.
Okay.
So let's say that for some reason Brock Bowers' stock has dropped more than people expected, and the Patriots are on the board at 20. The player you would want them to be taking is Brock Bowers, not a left tackle or a wide receiver.
Oh no. Ideally, no, a tackle actually.
There we go. See,
maybe there is.
If you don't know who's on the board, it may be that Bowers has dropped because all the left tackles have already gone. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go. I think that would be the scenario because left tackle is the primary. I think I was sort of thinking with my heart rather than my head there. So yeah.
Yeah.
What is this?
There's a first breaking
Wednesday.
So what will make you the most unhappy, Claire?
There's so many scenarios. We haven't got time.
Patriots trading down and taking a tackle. Would that make you unhappy?
Yes and no. Yes, because I want them to take Drake May. I want them to take that top quarterback. But no, because if it's a case of they don't want those quarterbacks, they don't think those quarterbacks are going to work, and they're getting the best value, I can see the positivity in that, because they need so much. They need the tackles. They need, a top wide receiver. They need a tight end for the future, obviously a later round. But they've got a lot of needs. Future development, shut up. They've got plenty of needs. To me, double dipping at left tackle, high as well would be a good, but you've only got so many higher round picks kind of thing. So I don't know how unhappy I would be. I would and I wouldn't, if that makes sense. Because I would see the future plan of it, but then there's that element of you just want to take that guy. If you don't get that guy, who are you going to get? What are you going to do? Are we going to have another 3 years of mediocre like Macdom or whatever type thing? And nobody really wants that. Well, at least I know.
Yeah, but you wouldn't call it that while we were in it, whilst other people were saying that that's what we were in.
No, because he was my quarterback.
And now again, right? So there's two points I'm going to take from what you said there.
Oh, here we go. He's going to throw something at me again, folks.
No.
Let's go.
One is, my guess is actually the most disappointed you will be is if Washington have taken JJ McCarthy and then the Patriots pass on May and take Daniels at 3. That would probably make you most upset.
Angry, not sad. Angry. Different emotion. You've got different emotions in play here. That would really tick me off.
That would tick you off. And now I've already forgotten what my second point was going to be now. So we might have to come back to that. But it was going to be a similar angry point of Claire.
So
and I'll remember it when I watch the show back later. I remember and go, oh, that was it. I'll have to throw it at you next time.
You can leave a comment.
I'll leave it. I will. I'll leave a comment. It's going to be interesting. I would say for me, most happy would be if the Patriots take May or Daniels. As you know, I'm more a Daniels person, but if they take a May, I was tempted to say if they take a quarterback in the first round, but
not now.
As pleased as I may be in the conviction they might have if they've gone for McCarthy or Penix or Nix or whoever, one of those quarterbacks that isn't those top three. I'm assuming they have the conviction to be doing it. They've seen the traits they want. Okay, I need to be supportive of it, but I won't have as much conviction and happiness if it isn't one of those top two. Go for it.
I have a question. You say that if they take May, you'd be happy because you just want one of those top three quarterbacks. And I know really, I don't think there's much point talking about Williams. I know people say, oh, well, I don't feel like there's much point. So it really is a May Daniels thing as the top two quarterbacks in your opinion anyway, at least. You say you would be happy if they take May. If in your scenario, Washington take JJ McCarthy and there's May and Daniels there and the Patriots pass on Daniels and take May, would you truly be completely happy?
I would be 99% happy, yes.
Oh, okay. Because, I see. I'm not sure if I believe you'd be that high a percentage, to be honest.
No, it's because my preference, if I was in that position, yes, I probably would have taken Daniels. But I fully understand why May is a very good fit, why there's a lot of promise. He's a bit younger. I totally get the May hype train. Everyone, or most analysts, certainly on the Patriots beat, suggest that May is the man that they want. If they could have any of them, they want May. Some of them above Williams even. Like May is the one that's going to be the best fit for the Patriots. So I'm all aboard if that's the one they take. Yeah, totally. There's no negative. I have my personal concerns. There's some things I'm slightly cautious about, but I'm fully aboard that I think they've all got downsides. They could all fail. It's a good fit. No, I'd be happy. I'd probably be most disappointed if. I think most disappointed. I'm not even going to say trading down because, like you touched on, I understand they have other areas they need to pick up on. I think most disappointing would be if they didn't take an offensive player. If they decide they traded down and then took Cooper DeJean or something, and a very talented cornerback, which improved the roster, no doubt. But that's not what we need. We need weaponizing. We need splashing the cash isn't so much valid for the draft, but we need an offense, and we still don't have one yet. So I think defensive player would be most disappointing. So what would make you happiest day two and unhappiest day two?
I think it all depends on what's gone on, really. Just overall, I think, to be honest with you, as long as they do quarterback tackle and then somewhere along the later lines tight end, I'm okay. I'd like them to double dip at tackle. Those are the things that I've really been focused on in this draft season, this off season, whatever you want to call it. It's really been the quarterback tackle situation. And then whatever they think's best in between, as long as they get me a good tight end, one of the tight ends that I like.
Do you want a day two tight end?
I want a round. I'm getting mixed up with the days. I tell you what round I think would be good. Round 4 or 5. Okay. So where does that fall? Is that day?
Is that what you're looking at there?
Yeah, basically. Does that fall on day 2 or day 3? I'm sorry, my maths isn't good.
Day 3. Day 3. 1 is just round 1. Day 2 is rounds 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Day 3 is then 4 to 7.
See, that's where I was getting mixed up. I wondered if day 2 was 2, 3, and 4. That's where I wasn't remembering right. You all know that I've got a terrible memory, so don't at me at this one. Yeah, a 4, 5, 6 kind of guy. So I want sort of sort out your quarterback, get your tackles, get your wide receiver, I guess, get me a tight end, and then pick some pieces that are necessary.
So is there anything that will make you unhappy, do you think, after day 2?
I think let's, for argument's sake, say they address the quarterback. They've got one of the top guys. If they don't address the tackle thing properly, if they don't look at that properly, that will concern me, because the O-line is, I get they need a wide receiver, even a tight end. If they don't look at that, for me, the biggest thing after quarterback this draft is sort out the O-line. Now, if they do some wheeling and dealings on draft day and get, I don't know how they would, but if they do, and they get another O-lineman in, as in a veteran from free agency, something, they do some sort of shuffling around or something, then that's a little bit different. But for me, it's they've got to address the tackle situation. They need those guys that, what's the phrase? Draft and develop and retain. This is what we need to do now. This is what they need to start doing in that kind of area, is draft, develop and retain. Draft, develop, retain. We need the O-line to be stable for a while, because it's been in flux for such a long time. I mean, I know we argue about the Mac situation anyway, but for me, a lot of it was he had such I'll say unreliable, but it was so mishmash all the time. The guys didn't get a chance to have consistency because they weren't working with the same people all the time and stuff. And I know some of it was to do with injury and things like that. But for me, the O-line needs stability. That this is really important. So for me, I'd be disappointed if we're going further down the draft and they haven't seriously looked at picking up some quality O-line. Now, I don't know names specifically because I've only seen so much, so I'm not going to throw names at people. And I don't really, it's just the best guys, just get the best guys possible at that position when you can, really. About you?
No, I'd agree. I think tackle and receiver are the day 2 attack points, I think. And there's a lot of debate, and it's possibly dependent on who's on the board when, as to which order you go in that. I think there's a good chance.
Yeah.
I think I would be probably most surprised if the Patriots stayed put and drafted at 34 and 68, is it? 67. If they just stayed put and drafted those 2 positions at that point, there's a very good chance they trade back, trade up, move around the board and get the exact pieces they're looking for.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to really look at day 3 too much, because once you get to rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, it's just picking up pieces that, like May said, you're really taking a shot at. I think I agree with you. I think there's a chance they take a tight end. They could get a second receiver. They could get a second tackle. Yeah. I think they'll probably pick up a running back somewhere, because Stevenson, on his last year of his contract, could look at edge, safety, cornerback, or a defensive back. I think those are positions they could look at on the defense as well. Stretching it further, like we said before, a second quarterback or a developmental quarterback and a kicker. Unlikely, but not impossible. So the other thing, there's 3 other questions I was going to throw at you, which I'll do as
Have we got time for 3?
Yeah. So, looking at the draft pieces, I guess, not necessarily picks, what do you think the likelihood is of the Patriots trading up at any point? Or at which points do you think they may be? Or trading back? Or using the picks for players? So, for example, going to get Higgins or Ayuk or someone else?
Well, I get the impression that this is a question that you have lots of answers to.
I don't. No, not really.
Because I was just thinking, possibly all of it. They could do anything. That's the thing. They could. The more time goes by with regards to the wide receiver thing, that your final question, that the veteran wide receivers, just looking at what keeps popping up on social media, we keep hearing that Higgins is going to play on the franchise tag and things like that. So I think for now, all I've been thinking about is the draft. I mean, if something like that happens, then you know, it could be great. It depends what they sacrifice pick-wise. That's been my concern for ages. I think we talked about this on a few shows ago now, when it was still sort of like proper free agency time, was the one thing I wanted them to do in regards to what they needed. They need quarterback, tackle and wide receiver. And for me, it was draft, pay money for. It was getting free agency. The problem was the majority of the ones that we were looking at, that we were hoping for, the top guys, they all remained with their teams in some way or another. Other than the Calvin Ridley, which is just one single individual, nobody else was really available. So it was not really their fault in that respect. But yeah, an argument for another day, I think.
I would agree with you on receiver. I think on tackle they could have done something more. They could have got a left tackle, which they didn't.
It was what was there. For me, it's like, were they looking at what was available and deciding that they could get a much better quality and in the draft that they could then develop? And no.
I fully agree with you that they could, but why couldn't they do both?
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with that. I'm just
that was my point at the time of free agency, was whatever we did in the draft. Say we take a tackle at 34, a receiver at 68, a quarterback at 3, brilliant. But we could have also got Smith as a starting left tackle in free agency. We could have also signed another receiver. They're not exclusive. You can't just say, oh, well, we're not going to do free agency because we're doing the draft, because everyone's doing the draft.
No, I know.
Obviously,
I didn't say it was exclusive like that.
3 picks or something.
That was just my point, maybe that. And the other thing is that we all don't know about is how tight are the purse strings, really?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And that is an interesting question that's come out. No, it's interesting that when they said splash the cash and then they really have not splashed the cash. Why? Is it because the players they wanted aren't there? Is it because they want to carry over the cap and they're going to splash next year? Is it because they've been told, yeah, you ain't splashing the cash even if you want to? Now, there's slight caveats to that, as we touched on before. You do need to spend a percentage of the cap. You can't just not spend your money. This isn't baseball, and you just don't spend any and and save it all into your own pockets. But it is interesting they've not splashed it yet. I think there's a chance that, as you say, there's a chance for everything. There's a chance they drop down from 3, and from then I can't see them going up. I don't think they'll move up to take quarterback from 3. But from there on, anything could happen. They could trade down. They could trade back up into the first round. You know, having picked at 3. They could trade back up if there's a player at the end of the round that they want to target. Like I said, I can't see them day 2. That's when I think there's going to be some serious movement. I can't see them staying put on those 2 draft picks. They could drop back and try and increase the number of picks. From what May said, it does sound like he wants to have a lot of darts to throw at the board. He wants to try and pick up more picks if he can. In terms of trading for those receivers, I think it's unlikely that they'll look at Ayuk or Samuel, maybe one of those. They decide to pay one and the other one's available. There's a chance they could. I don't think they will. I think they'd rather attack it through the draft and try and pick up a great option there that they don't need to pay for a few years. The other element is whether there's any players you think that could be traded away for draft picks, and possibly the most likely of that is Judon, but again, I hope they don't, and I don't think you're going to get possibly enough back for him to make a huge difference in this draft, but again, we can see.
That's something I hope they don't do, is trade away a significant player and make a hole that this happened with the Shaq Mason thing. They made a hole that they didn't need to make, and then they had to draft, and then it all went, anyway. The only players that we sort of, I think as Patriots Nation, if you like, but I just speak for myself as well, kind of want rid of, nobody's going to give you anything for them. That's why they're still there, the likes of Juju and stuff like that. So I hope that they don't do that. That's one thing that if they do during the draft, I'll get really annoyed with, is if they trade away for some 6th round pick, somebody who is still too key, like a Matthew Judon. That will really annoy me, because they've then made a hole that they do not need to make, because the player that they pick up in the 6th round pick will not give you what Matthew Judon's going to give you. I'm sorry. Okay, they may do in 3 years when you don't have Judon. Okay, but aren't we looking for some success now as well? So it's a balance anyway. It's some success. Okay, I'll just be annoyed. Well, forget the reasoning then. I'll just be annoyed.
No, I get it, and I'm with you. I'd rather they retained him. He's probably the most likely piece. I'd rather they kept him. I get it if they did, because they should get more than a 6th round pick for him. But I get that in reality they're not in win now mode. They'd like to win some games. They're not trying to not win games.
Don't you want to watch a game with Matthew Judon in?
I do, but I'd like to watch the game with the quarterback for the past few years, but we haven't. I would get it if they thought in reality Judon's not going to be part of the next over 500 Patriots team, is the way they may look at it. So in reality, we need to throw another dart at the board. Let's get what we can for him, and try and use that wisely to draft his replacement, who could be here for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
But do we have to logic these stuff out all the time? Can't we just have something? It's like the trade down. We understand why they do it, but we wouldn't be happy because they're building for the future and getting all the pieces that they want. Okay, I get all the logic out of it. And like you said, Judon's only going to be the short term. And then if they draft someone long, just for goodness sake, can't we just have something? Can't we just have nice things for a change? Can't we just keep Matthew Judon just for a little bit type thing? They got rid of Gesicki.
It's a Patriots fan saying, can't we have nice things for a change after the 20-year run of dominance we had?
Well, don't forget, I'm a the last 7 years fan, so I didn't get that 20 years. I'm too young for that. I only got the last sort of like 7-ish. Don't pull that face. I only got the last 7-ish years. They traded. I'm good. They didn't re-sign Gesicki, and that's like, I'm like, just give me something good, for crying out loud.
So, but Henry's your new stan. He's sticking around. They're not trading him.
No, I know, and he's always been my favorite. He was my favorite when they picked it, when they traded, when they signed him. Sorry, and Jonnu Smith. Sorry. So yeah, Hunter has always been my top guy. He's always been my favourite. But I wanted to see Gesicki play, and they didn't really utilise him. And that's obviously why they haven't re-signed him, because he's not. But I wanted to see him play more. I was so excited.
But you're excited for Hooper now, aren't you?
It's not quite the same level of excitement.
Maybe it'll be better production, though. You were excited for the guy who was rubbish twice. And now maybe the guy you're not excited for will be the one that performs. Izzo. Yeah, there we go. There's the face of scorn. Anything else you can think of then that you want to cover with the draft? We've been talking about it now for a very, very, very long time. I think both of us just really, really, really want a quarterback at 3, don't we?
Yeah. To be honest with you, something that you said when you were saying this is a very selfish reason. I just want them to. It won't happen because it can't happen. But I want them to pick at 3. Preferably May, and then go, that's it, we're done for today, so I can go to bed. I've got to get up early the next morning to do a show, and I'm going to look like, I just need my beauty sleep. God damn it.
To be fair, if they pick at stay put and pick at 3, then I probably will be going to bed shortly after that. I'm not going to stay up for the whole. So if they do trade back in at 27 or something, then I'll probably pick that up in the morning. I don't think if they trade down and they're now picking at 11 and 23, then I might have a decision to make. I'll probably stay up and watch both those picks, but
you won't have a happy Claire the next day.
Hopefully they'll pick at 3. They'll pick Daniels, and then I won't be able to sleep anyway because I'll be buzzing with excitement.
Oh, then I'll be really frustrated. I'll be really annoyed.
So what's your draft night routine, Claire? What's your plan?
I don't have one, just because it varies each year, and as I get older, it gets harder to stay up.
Are you going to be live tweeting? Are you producing content on the night?
Oh no, because there's so much content out there.
I think right. I'm going to make a request, and I'm going to do this in public. And I'm literally thinking of this now. This wasn't pre-planned.
Oh, I hate it when you do things like this.
I think you should record your reaction to the Washington pick. Wait. I'm not saying you have to post these, but I think you should record your reaction to the Washington pick and then record your reaction to the Patriots pick. Now, you don't necessarily have to put these out to the public
I'm not going
world. Oh.
I won't. Because for a start, I'll be in my pajamas with no makeup on. I'm not sitting up with makeup on just to record myself going, yay, or whatever. Anyway, you're being crazy. Nobody wants to see that.
Okay, so if you do, then sound off in the comments or the likes or tweet at Claire or exit Claire, whatever it's called now. And I'm sure if she gets enough support and love, she definitely will do that.
There won't be enough. What was it? Tom Brady wanted 50,000 likes before he unretired, apparently.
I'd take him back. He can man the fort instead of Brissett while we draft a future quarterback in waiting behind him. I'd take that.
There was too many sexual undertones in your voice then.
Zero, man. Where you got that from?
Oh, go have some fun. It's the off season.
Wow. Will you be listening to PU?
I will be trying.
Coverage?
Yeah, I will be trying to. Like I said, it's all about staying awake. It's all about desperately needing sleep.
A lot of chocolate and coffee.
Put this on. You make me put this on YouTube now. This is all your fault. So yeah.
My fault. Excellent. Well, that's all my notes. I think from the past 6 months, I've now got through pretty much everything that I could do. There's a lot of hope over the next week that we're happy come Saturday morning. Let's say when we're waking up, we've had the first few rounds, we've picked up some good players. But I'll believe it when it's happened because I had a lot of hope going into free agency after everything that was said.
Yeah. That
did not come to fruition. So I need that to be righted now, please. So we've got some hope going into the new season. Because the other thing is, and you don't do things necessarily for economics, but if the Patriots trade down 11 and 23 and they pick up, I don't know, Fashanu, a left tackle, and then a receiver later in the round, whose shirt are you going to buy as a Patriots fan this year? There isn't really, like, you could maybe say a Gonzo Zero. I don't know. It could be
Hunter Henry
like
85.
Exactly. There isn't anyone. They take a Drake May at 3. They take a Daniels. The number 5, the number 10 are going to be flying off the shelves. That's not the reason to do it. But like you say, it's the hope. It's buying into someone. There's someone in this team you can now hang your hat on. And I think, this is beautiful. I've got back now to the point that I forgot earlier. And this could be a wonderful way to end it. So you were talking about how you had the mediocre Mac era, as you called it.
Oh, I knew you'd be able to throw this back at me. Yeah, go on.
But you didn't want to say it at the time because he was your quarterback and you were fully behind him.
Yes.
So next time we record, if Jaden Daniels is our quarterback, you're going to be fully behind him, fully supportive of him. You're not going to be calling it critical because you can't, because he's your quarterback. That's correct, yes?
No, of course not. Why do you have to be so that one or that one?
Well, you were Mac Stan the whole way because he was your quarterback.
Completely different. That's completely different. Because going into the draft, I wanted him. Going into the draft, I don't necessarily want Jaden Daniels. Then when we had the season, I was prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt. Speak to me in September.
I think the Patriots will have drafted Drake May at 3, and you'll be happy. I'll be happy. We'll all be happy.
I will be happy. Not everybody will be. Some people do want the JJ McCarthy situation, and some people want the trade back. There is still
trade
considering.
Back, I get. I don't get anybody at any franchise who wants McCarthy.
Don't upset our listeners, please, our viewers.
So,
There's some viewers that want
come
him.
at me. Come at me. Go on.
No, can we not?
Listeners who want McCarthy, come at me. Sell him to me. Come on. So, because if we pick him, I'm going to need selling on this. I'll be even more disappointed than when they took Mac, and I was not a Mac fan at the time.
Okay, we're going to close the show on that.
Yeah, let's close the show on that. Go on.
Because you'll go off into a tangent, and then you'll be late for your meeting, and then for some reason it'll be my fault again. And
100%.
I don't need that. Not today.
Thank you for sticking with us, everybody, through this off season of talking round and round and round about the draft. I hope you're as excited for it as we are, because we genuinely are. The fatigue is setting slightly.
Speak for yourself. I'm tired.
We've had nearly every single rumour out there of the Patriots are going to be taking Daniels, they're going to be taking May, they're going to be taking McCarthy, they're going to be trading down, they potentially even could be trading up. We've had absolutely every scenario has been painted out there. But finally, next week, we're going to get the answer.
Even Tom Brady coming back, they have literally painted every single thing.
Exactly.
It has been a crazy off season, and as Chida said, I do reflect. Thank you very much for sticking with us. We started in season. This is our first off season. This is our first Pat's Procrastination draft. These are all our firsts going in. So we thank you for sticking with us for our first season and our first off season. We hope you continue to stick with us as we do a little bit of draft coverage. We're hoping to come at you after the first day, and then after the full draft the following week. So we're hoping to bring you a bit of content, a bit of reactionary, a bit of arguments, which we always tend to bring you. So hope you enjoyed that too. So from him, Chudders, from myself, Clazzy Clare, thank you for listening. Please do not forget to tune in next time. And as always, go Pats.
LFG.